afternoon, as the case may be. And I hope everybody had a good Shabbos. This is according to my cheshbon, I think it's either the fifth or sixth Shabbos that we're davening b'yechidus, and I know it's not easy, but we have to keep to it. The other thing that I want to say is that tomorrow, so in terms of this, you really don't have to know yet the sugya of pas, the second sheet, until earliest tomorrow. Tomorrow and Tuesday, I will be saying on all of Akum, especially the Ran, how the Ran learns the two teruts in the Gemara about Beini Atmi. That's very important to get that clear. That's what a lot of the shir is going to be about. But for the next 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to be dealing with Chol Akum, and therefore there's no rush to get into Pas Akum. Perhaps the earliest will be Wednesday when we start that. So I'm not telling you not to learn the sugya, not to get it good, but you don't have to rush. You don't have to rush through sheet 1 to get to sheet 2, because it really won't. The next 2 days will be on Chol Akum, and again, as I told you, it's a very, very important and negadik sugya. I see Mr. Mifsad there. Is that you? Looks like you.
Okay. Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Rabbi.
Okay. Now, so the first Ramban we're going to do, Rabbi Isai, is in Parshas Achrei Mais, Perek Yud Ches, Pasuk Yud Ches. Okay, as you all know, the end of Parshas Achrei Mais has the parsha of the Yisuri Arayas. This is what we laying on the Mincha of Yom Kippur. And among the Arayas, the pasuk says, "V'yisha alachiso leisikach litzror legales or elvasa oleha b'chayeha." This is the yisur for a person to marry two sisters. Now, the Ramban over here points out a very interesting thing. There is a uniqueness to the yisur of marrying two sisters. Number one, that this is the only time by any of the ervis that the pasuk uses the word litzror, which means to cause tsar, etc. That's a loose translation. By any of the other arayas, the Torah doesn't use the word litzror legales. It's just leisigale ervasa, etc. Here's litzror legales. And there is a halachic uniqueness to the yisur of marrying two sisters. And that is that the rule by all arayas is that once a woman becomes an erva to you, she remains an erva to you for the rest of one's life, even if the connection is cut off. For instance, if I marry a woman and the woman has a sister, I marry a woman and my brother is married to a woman, so that's called Eishesach. That woman is forbidden for me forever, which means even if my brother were to die, and now that he's no longer married, she's no longer married to my brother, that the rule of erva is Kemen Shenesar Shuv Sha'achas, it's Es Asur La'olam. That's the rule by all arayas. Another example: if a man marries a woman, then his mother-in-law is also to him. His mother, she's an erva to him. If that woman dies and therefore she's no longer alive, nevertheless her mother is still usher to me, because once the woman became usher, that's the rule of arayas. There is one notable exception to that rule, Rabbi Isai, and that is by sisters. If a person marries a sister and then the woman dies, the person is allowed to marry that deceased wife's sister. Not only that, Rabbi say this is not Maisim B'chol Yom, Baruch Hashem, but this happened. This is not so uncommon. I don't know if any of you read the Mishpacha magazine over Shabbos, but there's a beautiful article about the Novominsker Rebbe Zecher Tzadik Livrocha, who was niftar, unfortunately, right before Pesach from the COVID virus. His first wife died, and he married his wife's sister. That's what the article says. I knew that, which is unique. There's no other erva like that. The Ramban, in this very short Ramban, which we're going to learn now, Perek Ches, Pasuk Ches, explains why. Says the Ramban, Litzur legales ervasa Allah b'chayeha b'kan yiforesh hakasav tam ha'yisr. That with this erva, the Torah goes ahead and says the reason why this woman is usher. Why is it usher to marry a woman's sister? Yomer she'ena roy shetikach isha al achaisa litzur oisa zulazu. We're all familiar, Abaisa, with the concept of sibling rivalry. We all know this. You know, you're jealous of your siblings, you're jealous of your brother, your sister, etc., etc. Imagine if you marry a woman, and then you marry her sister. Now, it's a well-known fact that in the time that we married two women, we were allowed to wear multiple wives. They were called a tzara to each other because they can never get along. They're always jealous. You're spending more time with her, you love her more, etc., etc., etc. That's why it's called a tzara. When you learn Masechta Yevamis, it's full of the word tzara. So that's by two women. Imagine you have two sisters, and you married one, and there's an inbred thing called sibling rivalry. You know what you're promoting by marrying two sisters? You're causing the two sisters to hate each other. And therefore, that's the only reason the Torah assered marrying sisters. Whatever the tam of Arayis is, why you can't marry a mother-in-law, why you can't marry a sister-in-law, why you can't marry a grand, whatever the reason is, good. But here, by sisters, there's a fairish reason. Because when you marry two sisters, they will come to hate each other. Because that's what sibling rivalry will do. And the Torah doesn't want women to hate, sisters to hate each other. The Torah wants siblings to love each other. Says the Ramban, Kihein ruyash shetihiyena oyavais azu azu, loy shetihiyena tzares. Because the Torah doesn't want sisters to hate each other. They should love each other. You don't find this by any other relationship. So this is the big chiddush of the Ramban, in which Rabbi say we two side points, and that is that number one, the Torah really encourages and hopes that siblings will love each other. Now, you think, of course, of course you love your brother, love your sister. Well, Rabbi say, as we grow up, unfortunately, you hear all too often brothers that don't talk to each other, sisters that don't talk to each other, brothers don't talk to sisters to brothers. Family dynamics is very, very complicated, and we all feel you gave him more attention, gave her more attention, whatever it is. That's not the Ratzon HaTorah. The Ratzon HaTorah is that siblings should in fact love each other. And another point that you see over here is that we're going to talk about this in the next Ramban, that the Torah is a Torah that wants people. There's so much of the Torah is based on the concept of the Torah wants what's right. Vasisa Yosher V'Hatayv, as we'll explain in the next Ramban. It's not right that the Torah should let you put yourself in a situation where you will hate your sibling. And for that reason alone, the Torah says, no, you cannot marry two sisters. But that explains that when one of the sisters dies, Chas v'Shalom, then this is the only erva that you can marry. Now you can marry the sister. Because the whole reason it was also for, not because they're not a real erva. It's that the Torah doesn't want you to go ahead and put in a situation where you'll hurt your sisters. And therefore, that's why the Torah said it. Look at that, Rabbi Say is Ha'ora number 1 and now Ha'ora number 2. You know that Rabbi say that on Sundays we have alternated over the years, for many, many years, different limudim on Sundays or on Fridays. One of the limudim that we go back to every few years is the limud of the Ramban al Torah. And that is because so much of Hashkafas Chazal, we in the yeshiva try to make you Talmidei Chachamim. We try to teach you how to learn. We try to teach you how to understand a sugya. We try to teach you to know halacha, etc., etc. And we try to make you into B'nai Torah. But we also try to make you not only Talmidei Chachamim in Gemara and in halacha, but in Hashkafas Chazal, in Machshavas Chazal. What is the Hashkafas HaTorah? So how do you learn Hashkafa? The Ramban al Torah, Rabbi Isai, is a premier source of Yesodis Hadas, fundamentals of the faith, fundamentals of Yiddishkeit. And therefore, every 3 or 4 years, I make a regular limud of learning the Ramban al Torah because so much is there. For whatever reason, I don't know, we didn't do it this year. I'll have to see how many people will be with their next year Mitzvah Shem had heard the Ramban al Torah, but under the circumstances, because I want everybody to have a text, so the Ramban al Torah was a good pick, I think. The Ramban that we're going to learn now, Rabbi Isai, I know I probably do this too often, but this happens to be, if not the most famous Ramban, it's certainly the top 3. This next Ramban. That's how important this Ramban is. It's one of the most oft-quoted Rambans. And therefore, pay attention well, look inside, because you will not be able to call yourself a Talmud Chacham if you don't know this Ramban al Torah. Everybody has to know this Ramban al Torah. Every seminary girl knows this Ramban al Torah. You'll go out with a girl, and she'll talk to you about the Ramban al Torah and Pashas Kiddushim. You'll sit there like a dumbbell and won't know what she's talking about. End of date, end of shidduch. Okay, forget it. Weiter. So, therefore, you got to know this Ramban. Okay? So the Ramban begins Parshas Kedoshim. This is Perek Yud Tes Pasuk Beis, where the pasuk Zabru al Kol Adas B'nei Yisrael. So Rashi goes ahead, famously says over here, Karomu Rabbi Seinu Sheparsha Zu Parsha Hazu Nemra Bahakel Nesharoiv Gufei Teret Tluyim Ba. V'zeh Tam L'Chol Adas B'nei Yisrael. So the reason the pasuk says Daber al Kol Adas B'nei Yisrael, because so much of Torah is totally in this week's Parshas Kedoshim. I didn't count, but the 2 big parshas with mitzvahs is Parshas Kiseitze and Parshas Kedoshim. I don't know which has more, but Mishpatim also. But this really is a jam pack, and therefore say some kind of Klal Yisrael, because there are so many Gufei Torah Tluyim Ba. Now, what's the mitzvah the Torah begins with? Kedoshim tiyu ki kodesh ani Hashem Elokeichem. The mitzvahs of Kedoshim, which is a mitzvah sasei deraisa, Kedoshim tiyu. So Ramban, as he often does, quotes Rashi, Kedoshim tiyu heyu prushim min ha'arayes u'min ha'avera shekol mokum shatamaytze geder atamaytze kedusha. So Rashi over here says that the mitzvah Kedoshim tiyu is specifically tell us about prushim and arayas, that we should abstain and stay away from the Isuri arayas, which makes a lot of sense, because in Parshas אחרי, which we just finished, the Torah enumerates all of the arayas, and therefore the Torah says a mitzvah saseh. It backs it up and says Kedoshim tiyu. You should be a kodesh. What is that? Prushim and arayas. Abstain from illicit relationships. That's Lashon Rashi. Writes the Ramban, Aval B'teres Kanem Reisi Stam Prushim Tiyu. No, not Prushim means abstain from. Rashi says abstain from arayas. Says the Ramban that the Teres Kehanim, which is a medrash on Sefer Vayikra, says Prushim Tiyu K'dashim to you, prushim to you. Abstain. Abstain from what? Period. Abstain from everything. What does abstain mean? Well, the Ramban means to say, no, this is much broader than merely prushim in harayas. And now the Ramban explains, "V'chein shanu sham v'искadishtem v'yisekadeshim ki kadosh ani kishem shani kadosh kachatem ti kadishim kishem shani parash kachatem prushim." The Ramban explains what this is about. What does it mean, prushim to you? V'ha'inyan, follow along inside Rabbi Isai. This is very important. V'ha'inyan, says the Ramban, ki hatera hisira barayis uv'macholim asurim. Because the Torah already told us in this Sefer Vayikra, it told us about arayis, illicit relationships, macholas asurais, that was parsha Shmini, kosher animals, kosher birds, kosher fish. V'hitira habia ish be'ishtoi v'alchilas habasar v'hayayin. Judaism is not a religion of asceticism, which means asceticism is no pleasures of the world. That's not Judaism. The Torah says, yes, man can marry women and they can have marital relationships. And the Torah says, yes, you can eat meat. They have to shechter it because you're animal. Unless you're a nazir, you can drink wine. Says the Ramban, if you can marry women and have relationships with women, and you can eat the best meat in the world, and you can drink the finest wines, then a person can conceivably be engaged on a constant basis with marital relationships with his wives, or wives. Because remember, in the eyes of the Torah, a person is allowed to have multiple wives. And L'havdalel of Alpha Avdoles. I'm not making a comparison. I just read recently that King Saud, the second king of Saudi Arabia, the famous that family, so he had multiple wives and concubines. And he fathered 53 boys and 57 girls. Okay, Rabbi say? 54 boys and 57 girls. That's 111 kids. Now for multiple wives. So now you got to be king of Arabia, Saudi Arabia, to have that many wives to afford it. But Al-Pitari can have multiple wives. And a person conceivably could be engaged in that type of behavior almost constantly. And he could eat and drink and go ahead and have Wagyu beef, and he can have the shens and the best wines. And his speech could be about, inappropriate things. In the yeshivas, we're accustomed to the concept of nivel peh. Where's that isser in the Torah? Where did it say you shouldn't talk like that? Says the Ramban, Shlohusker isser zebataira. No, in the Torah it says, it talks about lashon hara, rechilas. Doesn't say nivel peh. And hear the famous words. This may be the most famous two words in the Ramban al Torah. Novel bershus haTorah. The Ramban says a person al pitera could be a novel bershus haTorah. He could be a glutton. He could be a novel bershus haTorah. Als is kosher, als is yosher, als is yoshan and glat and lahadrin and menahadrin and als ding. And it's all mutter. But the guy's a glutton. There's a word in Greek for this. Everybody write down this word, okay? Epicurean. Epicurean is a person that is engaged in all sorts of the pleasures of the world. As a matter of fact, Rabbi said there's a connection between the word Epicurean and the word Epicurus. Because when a person is so orangutan in all these pleasures, he'll say, Novol Bershus Atera. Lefichach bo hakosuf hazeh. And that, Rabbi say, Ramban says, is what this pasuk, Kiddushim to you, is all about. Lefichach bo hakosuf hazeh. אחרי שפירט האיסורים שאוסר oisam legamri. After the Torah forbade those things that are in fact osir legamri. Nevertheless, the Torah comes down and says, "Yeah, I know. I told you what's osir, but the tziva bedover klal sheniya perushim min hamoiserais." That we should abstain from the luxuries, from the excesses. You might, but mishkol, to limit a person's relations with his wife, there should be abstention. Yes, you have to have tashmish hamita. There is a mitzvah pir v'rivya. There is a mitzvah of ona, to go ahead and to have pleasure with one's wife. But yikarish atzmai min hayayin b'miyutai. K'moshekora hakosev hanozir kodesh. Like we find a nazir is a kodesh because he abstains from wine. The yiskar ha'arayis haniskaris menu b'ter b'nayach v'loit v'chein yafrishu atzmai min hatuma. And therefore a person shouldn't even become tamei. Afal pishlon husarnu b'menu b'tera. Even though for a Yisrael there's no Yisrael becoming Tamei, Kamoshi Skiu, Big Amaretz, Midas Aprushim, Ukmosha Hanazir Kodesh, Bimishro Mitumas Amesim. The Gam Yishmor Piv, Oloshaina, Mihis Goel, Baribo Yachila Hagasa, Umin Hadibor Hanimas. And there's a Losh, that's why Rabbi said there's a concept of Losh and Dekia. Talk in a pleasant manner and not a dirty manner. Nivel peh. The famous, where does it say in the Torah you can't talk nivel peh? It says Kiddushim to you. Because a person talks like that, he's not being a Kaddish. And that's what this mitzvah is. It's a general mitzvah. It's a mitzvah that I call an umbrella mitzvah. Because it's killed so many different things. You know, I don't know if you saw, but there was also an ad in this week's Mishpacha magazine, an ad from Elia Brudny, Rabbi Yisrael Reisman, Rabbi Moshe Tov Yalif, that we should try to learn from the coronavirus, that we should try to cut down on the lavishnesses of chasanas. Now, this has been going on, Rabbi Say, for 30, 40 years. And they all these, movements spring up, and they good issues guidelines. You shouldn't have only X amount of people. You should only have X amount of dishes at a smorgasbord, X amount of people at a band, etc., etc. And it lasts for a little while, and then it goes back to normal. You don't have a band at a chasana, have an orchestra at a chasana. A 16-piece band, enough of dishes at a smorgasbord to feed an army. So these Rabbanim want to say that this is something we should take away from the coronavirus, because I'm sure many of you have seen these backyard chasanas, or these porch chasanas, or driveway chasanas, in which there's just, you could only have 10 people or so, and that's it. I mean, in the neighborhood in Baltimore where my son lives, and we saw the Kala walking down the street in a gown, going to a chuppah in somebody's backyard, and they're happy and they're fine. But where does it say in the Torah you can't have a chasana, $100,000 chasana? It doesn't say mefurish, but it says kiddushim to you. Try to be memayit. Try to abstain. And then the Ramban continues. Be'elu v'chayetzi ben haba mitzvah zeit lichlol acharei sheparat kol avera shein asura legamri. The Torah first goes ahead. This is derech of the Torah to say the specific things that are osur. And she kanis bichlal zeis hatzavar hanekiyus begadav agufay kmo shomer is kadish nevisim kadeshim elamai rishonim etc. 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 Skip down, Rabbi say v'zed derech haTorah. A couple lines down. V'zed derech haTorah lifrei v'lichlo b'chayetzi b'seh. This is how the Torah works. Ki acharei asharas protei hadinim b'chol maso matan shebein adam leisignoi leisigzo leiseinu mishar ha'arazarais. After, for instance, the Torah said, "Don't steal," etc., etc. Omar kol v'asisa hayosher v'hatayv. Rabbi said, I beg you to remember those words. V'asisa hayosher v'hatayv, which is a posuk in Parshas V'eschanan. And what it says, Rabbi say, is that you have to do the right thing. V'asisa hayosher v'hatayv. Yes, it's not Geneva. Yes, it's not Gzalin. Yes, it's not this. Yes, it's not that. And when some guy who wants to catch Ma'ariv or Baruch and blocks your car, and now you come out because you daven Ma'ariv already, and you want to leave, and you can't leave because this guy wants to chop a Baruch and a Ma'ariv and parks in front of you, and you wait for this guy to come out, and you say, look what you did to me. I couldn't leave. And the guy says, well, where does it say so in the Torah? So it's a Beferish Pasuk. You are Moretz. V'asisa yosher v'hatayv. You have to do what's right. That's where. V'asisa yosher v'hatayv. As he's Dr. Ramban. Sheikonis ba'asais hayosher v'hashava v'chol lifni mishuras hadin lirtzon chaveirav. And I'll explain this, says the Ramban, in Parshas V'eschanan, Yimirtza Hashem. So what V'asisa hayasher hatayv is all what it is to all the Ben Adam l'chaveros, leisignoi, leisigzol, lashon hara, etc., etc., etc. And then there's an umbrella mitzvah that says, do the right thing. Where does it say you should mow your lawn? Where does it say that? It says, Vasisa Yashav Atayv. Because it's being a good neighbor. Where does it say that if the garbage man goes ahead and takes away your garbage, but half of the garbage can falls out and now it's lying there? Who says you have to get rid of that? Vasisa Yashav Atayv. It's an umbrella mitzvah. The Ramban says in that, what Vasisa Yasher Atayv is to mitzvahs bein Adam lachaveroi, Kedoshim tiyu is bein mitzvahs len Adam lamokim. Where does it say that you shouldn't spend $250 or $500 on a bottle of single malt liquor for a kiddush? It says, because I'll see Kedoshim to you, don't be a glutton. You don't need $250 whiskey or $500 whiskey. So you can go, hey, see this? Yeah, see this? Yeah, man, I paid $280 for this bottle. That's a maneuver. It's a novel Bershus HaTorah. And that's why Rabbi say, this is such an important Ramban. Such an important Ramban. And as I say, must from the top three, if not the top Ramban. And finally, Rabbi say one more ha'ora, a big chiddush. This Ramban Rabbi say is in Perek Yutes Pasuk Yud Zayin. It's not in the beginning of the Ramban. It's a few lines in. If you have the Tov Yerushalayim edition, it's on page Reish Mem Vov. I don't know where it is in the Shalvel Ramban, but it begins on V'tam v'ahavta l'reacha kamecha. It must be 10 or 12 lines down into the Ramban. V'ahavta l'reacha kamecha. V'tam v'ahavta l'reacha kamecha. The Ramban says over here an amazing thing that only...
What was it? Perek what?
It's in Perek Yud Tes, Pasuk Yud Zayin, on the mitzvah of Leisisnas Ticha Bilvavecha, and about, 10, 12 lines in, 10, 12 lines in, it says, V'tam v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha.
Okay.
Does everybody have that now? Everybody have that?
Maybe in the Rav Kook edition, it's on page Kufya Tes and 5 lines up from the bottom.
Okay, thank you, Avram. Okay, are we ready? Okay. V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, says the Ramban, Gevaldige Chiddush. Haflaga. When the Torah says, you shall love thy neighbor as thyself, guess what? It's an exaggeration. You go tell this to your typical person on the street, or go tell this to your black preacher. This Sunday morning is preaching, love thy neighbor as thyself, or whatever it is, and all, love thy neighbor. Wrong. Haflaga. Because guess what? You cannot love your neighbor like you love yourself. People are incapable of that. And I'll bring you a rise, says the Ramban. The famous Gemara Bava Metzia. Two people, they have B'neiim. They're on a desert island. They have one jug of water. If both of them drink, they'll both die. If one of them drinks, he'll stay alive. What's the din? If it's your jug, you drink and the other person dies. That's halacha l'maisa. You got to share it. You have to love him like yourself. No, the Ramban says chayecha is always kaidman. You come first, and the Torah cannot demand from you to love somebody like yourself, because it's impossible. So what does it mean? Love thy neighbor as thyself. It's a mitzvah of acting rather than emotion. That you should do to your friend everything that you would want to do for yourself. That's what it means. If I have a nice new car, I would want my friend also to be able to have a nice new car. I don't have to buy him one, but I want that for him. I want for him what I want for myself. He's talking about Shloyamar V'ahavta es reacha kamecha. Beautiful diak. Doesn't say V'ahavta es reacha. It says V'ahavta le reacha. Love to your friend. So the Ramban says, that's a big difference. V'ahavta es would mean I have to actually have an emotion of love. I can't do that there. Most people can't. Yes, there are Yidden, there are face, Rabbi Levine and those type of people that Mamish loved every Yid. Love Mamish. Most people are not capable of that. But that Torah doesn't demand that. V'ahavta le reacha. You have to treat him like you treat yourself. V'hishra oisam b'mila lireacha. V'chein v'hafta like kamecha deger. Now here it is. Here's the important words, Rabbi Isai. Underline this. Sheyeh perushai lahashvais avashneim bedaitai, which means to go ahead and to make us equal. You have a scenario where, I don't mind that he has as nice a car as mine. I don't mind that he has as much money as me, but I want to be smarter. I'm not willing for him to be as smart as I. And even if I want him to be as smart as me and to successful as me and to have money as me, okay, he can have as much money, he can have children, blah blah blah, but not exactly like me. I'm higher. I'm a little smarter, and that says the Ramban. The Ramban calls this as Ramban I've got to be a little better. Underline this. That's plain and pashut jealousy. The pechisus hakina, the pechisus, the derogatory kina. That's what you have to get out of your heart. What this Ramban is saying, Rabbi say, is a very big kula to us. You don't actually have to feel and love everybody like you love yourself. But this is still a very hard mitzvah, because most of us are jealous. And most of us look around and say, he has this and he has that, she has this, she has that. I'm jealous. That's what this mitzvah is telling us to try to do. To come to a hamadrega, to treat people and want that people should have as good as we have it. And to remove the kina that plagues us between Adam and Chaverei. That's the mitzvah of Hafta l'reacha kamecha. And that Rabbi Isai does it for us for this morning. Now, I don't know how you like this Ramban, but these Rambans, but I must say that we started with a great parsha, Parshas Kiddushim. It's a wonderful parsha. Not every week will the Ramban be as, in what my opinion is, as startling as this Ramban. But if you want to know Hashkafas Chazal, you have to go through the Ramban al Atera and try to get as much out of it as you can. Because then you will become a well-rounded Talmid Chacham. Not only in Gemara and Halacha, but also in Hashkafa. And this is a place to find it. So as I mentioned at the outset, tomorrow's shir and Tuesday's shir will be on the sugya of Chalav Akom, particularly the two terutzim of the Gemara about Beinei Atfi, about trying to make milk into cheese, and the Ran over there on the Rif. And so get the sugya well. Again, if you finish it, you can do one of two things. You can start the next sheet about Pas, which we probably will not say shir on until Wednesday. Or as I mentioned in the introductory shir at the beginning of this man, it would not be a bad idea for you to go back to the beginning of the second parak and learn that parak and try to get from Chof Beis, where the parak begins, to Chof Tes Amud Beis, where we will start a Mitzvah Hashem in several weeks, and that theoretically, hopefully, that by the end of this month, you can have the entire second parak under your belt. Of course, you don't do this at the expense of preparing for shir and making sure you get the meforshim straight. But as I said, if you have extra time and you don't want to start the next sugya, or you want to wait until the Tuesday to start the sugya of Pas, whatever it may be, there is what to do every single day in Masechta Avodah Zarah. So that, Rabbi Isai, wish everybody have a good day. Remember, as I'm sure you're already aware of, that it's Chodesh Iyar, and therefore we're back to saying Tachnun. And you're not going to have, unless you're having a bris in your house, you probably have to say Tachnun. So I'm sure you miss we miss everything. We even miss saying Tachnun. Okay, I'll see everybody tomorrow again at 12:15. Very important shir, the first real shir on Chol Hav. Have a good day.
Yeah, you're correct, Rabbi.
Shkoyach, Rabbi. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Rabbi.